the standard bearer position sa kanya.
Hopes and efforts to unify the opposition was one of the first key challenges early in the campaign period among presidential candidates. Maybe it still is, but with shifting alliances and new political parties still forming, what transpired in the process of unification? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this edition of The Chiefs. I'm Robbie Alampay, and with me here in the studio in Mandaluyong, Ed Lingao, also of One News, and Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5 joins us online. Chiefs.
Happy weekend.
Hello. Hi. Good evening. I'm also already here, but I'm seeing her on my computer. But yeah.
Andito na ba si Ami? Andiyan na si Ami? Okay. And Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star is joining us as well. Good evening, Ami.
There you go.
Hi.
Parang may delay tayo.
Parang hindi good ang evening niya.
Pero actually, hindi good ang evening sa maraming mga Pilipino. Lalo na mga kababayan natin in the north.
May delay.
Di ba? Medyo mabigat yung...
Matindi ang baha.
Matindi ang baha. I mean, they're also comparing the volume of rain here this weekend to the volume of rain in some of the major events in the past decade.
And considering yung the storm did not even hit us. Did not even make landfall.
Because akala natin tropical storm lang eh. Yeah, di ba? Hindi siya typhoon level. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but that's in reference to wind speed.
So, nagulat lahat na ganun yung destruction, no?
Yeah, but that's in reference to wind speed. It's not in reference to the volume of
rain.
rain.
That's true. Oo. Anyway,
Yes,
pero
yes.
marami ring mga bagyo pa tayong binabantayan. Actually,
Yung binabagyo ngayong partido, yung dating mukhang akala natin magiging magkakampi.
Political bagyo
surprise
naman yan
din, di ba? Surprise din yung bagyo na yon. Yung hindi natin ipasok na natin, no, para pag-usapan natin because we do have a lot of questions. We begin tonight with Congressman Edgar Irice of Aksyon Demokratiko. Good evening, Congressman Irice.
Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Kong.
Good evening, Lucy, Ami, and Ed.
Duty, sir.
Hi, Congressman, maybe you could start us off by clarifying or give your insights kasi kanina nga nung inintro ko, di ba? Efforts to unify the opposition or for that matter just to unify whatever political forces, that was a key challenge and a key goal for everyone. But when we talk about unifying, consolidating, whatever you want to, partnering up, team up, whatever. Do we talk about that in the past tense or is that still an ongoing hope and concern for everyone?
It's an ongoing hope for everyone.
So you mean may pag-asa pa, sir?
Oh, really?
You mean may pag-asa pa yung
So you, yeah?
I mean, it's still in the works?
Talagay ko ano yun eh. Well, I think marirealize din ng opposition paglabas ng mga numbers that the only chance to oust government is for the other candidates to unite, whether they claim to be opposition or that they are not claiming to be opposition, like Mayor ISKO. He's not claiming to be an opposition, pero kalaban din siya ng kasalukuyang administrasyon.
Congressman Irice, it's interesting you said that precisely because, you know, yung isang konteksto ngayon dito is precisely yung mga words ni Mayor ISKO last week. Kasi nagulat lahat ng tao. Everybody really felt and knew that his initial mode was, I will bridge, I will heal, and people knew that he had spoken with the camp of Leni Robredo, and there were efforts to see, baka naman pwedeng magkaisa tayo, and so on. First chance he gets, banat ka agad. First chance he gets, maanghang ka agad yung mga bitaw niya.
Well, ako naunawaan ko yung pinanggagalingan ni Mayor ISKO. Alam mo, although bago pa naman siya sa national politics, talagang siya. So, lagay ko na naunawaan ko yung kanyang kung saan nanggagaling. Alam mo, I'm from the Liberal Party. I've been a loyal and active member of the Liberal Party for so long. Nung una kong takbo bilang konsyal, Liberal Party na ako, 1988. I was then 28 years old. Certified dilawan ako dahil 23 years old pa lang ako. Sumasalubong na ako kay Senator Ninoy. Member ako ng staff ng opposition sa Batasang Pambansa. Naging congressman, naging liberal uli ako nung nag-congressman ako ng 2003. Nakipaglaban ako during the hardest times ng liberal. Kung tawagin kami noon Volkswagen Party. Nung tumakbo si Pangulong Pinoy, kasama niya ako nag-ikot sa buong Pilipinas. Nung ako'y nagtatanggol sa Liberal Party sa Kongreso, nung tumakbo si Mark, kasama din ako buong Pilipinas. Yung 8 Diretso, kasama din ako ni Vice President Lenny.
Yes, sir. Malalim po yung hugot niyo.
Yun ang tanong namin, anyari.
Well, I've been very vocal. To the party. Alam mo, I think yung leadership ng party may responsibility. Kung may problema, dapat may restructuring, may reforms. For so long, I'm clamoring for that. At mga 3 months ago, meron kao ni VP Lenny, si Secretary Mar Rojas, si Secretary Junabaya, Secretary Butch, our Secretary General Congressman Kit Belmonte sa Office of the Vice President. At sinabi niya na hindi siya interesado talaga tumakbo bilang presidente o any other national position. Sabi niya nga, nung una raw, kinoconsider niya yung local, pero parang nawawala na rin siya na kana. So, ang kanyang agenda is to unify the opposition. Kung merong kakandidato na mas may chance na manalo, at kung merong, kasi ayaw niya na yung halimbawa makakuha siya ng certain percentage na votes, yun pa yung kadahilan para matalo yung kalaban ng administrasyon. Yun ang sabi sa amin, Ma'am Lenny. So, ako naman, nagtsaga naman for tinatanong ko. Siyempre, we should not only consider the national positions, may local positions din ng partido. Ano ba yung gusto siyempre ng partido, maliwanag din kung saan sila nakatayo. Ganyan naman, di ba, mga local elections. Ako ay candidate for mayor. So, umaasa din ako na yung magdadala sa akin, yung organize yung partido ko. So, sabi ko kay Sec. Kit Belmonte, ano bang magiging desisyon? Sabi niya, hintay ka lang. Sabi ko, pag August 30, walang desisyon. Dahil alam ko naman, nakipag-usap si VP Lenny kay, sasama na ako kay Mayor ISKO. Kasi si Mayor ISKO, maliwanag yung pahayag niya, natatakbo siya. And he will sacrifice a lot. Dahil mayor siya ng Maynila, wala siyang kalaban. Pero bibitaw siya, lalaban siya for the presidency. Sasama na ako. Sabi sa akin ni Kit, maghintay-hintay ka lang ng konti. So, naghintay ako. Pero September 15, sabi ko, anong petsa na? Wala pa. So, sabi ko, paalam ako. Sabi ako, mag-resign na ako sa partido. Dahil, ang akala ko talagang wala namang interest. People like me.
So I guess yung question nga is, so kung tumakbo pala siya, early on ay dineklara na niya, hindi ka aalis ng LP?
Maaari. Kasi meron kaming meron kaming mga discussions because we also we look on surveys, we look on the possibility of or winnability. Kasi mahalaga din yun dahil siyempre madadamay kami lahat. mababa numbers, mga
Yeah.
ganong consideration. Pero alam mo, Ocho Diretso kasama ako, nagpunta ko, alam ko namang hirap na hirap. Doon ako, during the darkest days, kasama ako. Pero ito, hindi ko makita yung direction. Hindi ko makita yung direction ng partido. So nakita ko, sabi ko nga, extraordinary times would require extraordinary actions. Tingin ko, ang may panalo talaga against the administration, either Bongbong or Sara, is Mayor Isko. Siya yung nakikita ko in terms of numbers, in terms of endearment. Kasi ang circle nung influence niya, not only with the, kumbaga sa political spectrum, not only with the left of center, but doon sa right of center, makakakuha siya. So yun yung aking idea. Tapos, lalo na, nung nag-Action Democratico siya, kasi yung Action Democratica is actually a sister party of the Liberal Party.
Yes, sir.
Pareho
Yes, sir.
naman Liberal Democrats
Yes, sir.
yan eh.
Yes, sir.
Actually, kay Senator Rocco,
Yes, sir.
si Mrs. Rocco, naging kandidato pa namin ng LP nung panahon ni President Aquino.
Sir, I'll go back to Robbie's question, if you don't mind. I'll go back to Robbie's question kasi I think the question in a lot of people's minds is what accounts for the apparent antagonism in the last few days between the two candidates. When several weeks ago, parang silang nagkakasundo. They appear together in projects and all that.
Ganito nangyari. I was privy to some events. Ang sabi ni VP Lenny, hindi siya interesado. Ang gusto niya lang ma-unify opposition. Actually, nag-uusap sila nila Mayor Isko at nalaman ko naman pag napapag-usapan. So, ang gusto yata ni VP Lenny, okay na siya kay Mayor Isko, pero kailangan mag-usap sila ni Senator Pacquiao para makumpleto yung para si VP Lenny yung talagang unifier of the fight against Marcoses.
Isko Pacquiao bale, yes.
Pero ang problema, siyempre may prerogative yung presidente kung sino yung kanyang vice. Ang wala sa isip ni Mayor Isko si Senator Pacquiao na maging vice president niya. At si Senator Pacquiao din, alam ko, sa pagkakaalam ko, correct me if I'm wrong, Senator Manny, he doesn't want to go head-to-head against Tito Sen. Di ba? So yung parameters na gusto ni VP Lenny, parang wala mong nangyari. Pero nung tumakbo na si VP Lenny. Pero nung habang nag-uusap sila, nakikita ko, merong may effort to up the numbers of VP Lenny. Karoon siya ng nationwide radio ads, gano'n, di ba? So ang premise kasi ng kanilang pag-uusap, hindi tatakbo si Vice President Lenny. Unifier siya. So nung dinala na siya ng one-stop atake kay Mayor Isko. At nakita ko yung maatake, mga dilawat. Mga kasama ko maatake na parang iba-ibang Marcos yan, Duterte secret candidate, even Ma'am Eta Rosales said that Isko is a Duterte secret candidate. May mga gano'n na lumabas. So, dumami na yung atake ng Isko. Tapos nag-declare na si Ma'am Lenny. Tapos sinabi ni Ma'am Lenny na one of the reasons na hindi sila pwedeng magsama ni Mayor Isko kasi uncompromising siya sa Marcos issue. Yun ang sinabi niya.
Yeah.
So parang offend si Mayor Isko. All the while, I thought you were unifying us. Pero ako yun ang naisip ko. All the while, I thought you were unifying us. You are for the unity of those against the Dutertes and the Marcoses. Pero meron ka pala deep inside, huwag na sabihin desire ini-entertain mo pala na ikaw pwedeng maging kandidato ng ikaw ang magdadala ng opposition. So parang ako, tingin ko ron, that is bordering intellectual dishonesty.
Pero Congressman, from the start naman, alam ng lahat that Isang Bayan was courting Leni Robredo to be the candidate.
Sambayan is courting Sambayan is courting everybody. Trillanes, ISKO, Binay, Po.
Pero
except
they were waiting for the decision of the Vice President. Saka linawin ko lang, where did you get the idea na yung premise ng unity talks simply for unity at walang balak na tumakbo si
There's
VP Robredo?
actually, Ami,
Sinabi ba sa inyo yun ang premise na
yes,
na mag-unite
yeah, that is the premise. There's merong in-assign si VP Lenny, si Congressman Kit Belmonte, siya yung nakipag-usap. At sinasabi, lagi ako nag-update kay Kit. Dahil sinasabi ko, Kit, ano ba yung usapan na yan? Sabi niya, ayos na. Ang direction, same direction, VP Lenny will not run for president. Ay, alam ko yun.
Pero sir,
I mean,
publicly,
let me just
ang
clarify,
sinasabi
because
ni Congressman Teddy Bagilat, medyo mabigat din yung sinasabi niya. He feels betrayed daw by you. Tapos
Why?
anong
Why?
reaction niyo sa gano'n na ang dami-dami niyo na daw pinagsamahan, suddenly nandun na kayo sa Aksyon Demokratiko. Iniwanan niyo yung LP.
Alam mo, yun ang pinakamabigat sa nakikita ko. Para bang may exclusive franchise sila kung ano yung mabuti para sa bayan. Kung ano yung iniisip nila para sa bayan, yun yung tama. Kaya kami nagiging na-alienate kami. Kaya ang Liberal Party, di ba? Talaga namang na-demo na ang tingin ng iba, we are holier than thou. Kung hindi katugma ng kaisipan namin, either mali, para bang may exclusive franchise kami para magsabi kung sino yung tama at mali, kung sino yung good and evil.
Congressman, I won't ask kung sino yung tama o mali dito, but I do just want to recall the words of ISKO Moreno that really gave a lot of people pause. First of all, yung premise ni Vice President Leni Robredo, I think she was consistent all the way to when she filed. Sinabi niya, hindi ko talaga gusto. And then I started seeing signs na, as you put it, na compromising pala si ISKO sa ano. Now let's give...
Hindi gusto. Robin, gusto? Anong hindi gusto?
Hindi niya raw nagustuhan yung signs that ISKO Moreno was not as uncompromising as she thought when it comes to the dictator and his family. But down the line,
Robbie,
sandali lang po. Ito po yan. So, and then down the line, when ISKO said, and this is my question, when he said na away ng dalawang pamilya lang to eh. This is not anything else. Parang away lang to ng isang political family versus another political family. That gave a lot of people pause because that is a totally different framing from acknowledging that the dictator's family has a lot to account for still, and trying to sell the narrative, which is the same narrative of the BBM camp. Diba? So I guess ang tanong po is, in fairness, we'll give you a chance. Where exactly does ISKO Moreno stand on what is the accountability of the Marcoses, and when he basically feeds that narrative also of, let's move on na tayo, tagal na nun, 30 years ago na yun.
Robbie, may I answer now?
Apa.
Alam mo, tinanong ko dyan si Mayor ISKO at narinig ko rin yung sinabi niya na hayaan natin na mag-explain at magpaliwanag ang mga Marcos. Narinig ko yun. Alam mo, wala namang pagkakaiba doon. Wala namang dapat pagdebatihan doon. The essence of democracy and justice is for all to be heard. At nakita naman natin, 6 years naging presidente si Tita Cory. 6 years si Pinoy. Pero yung mga kaso ng mga Marcos andyan pa rin, hindi pa rin tapos. Bakit? Hindi ini-influensyahan ni Tita Cory at ni Presidente Pinoy yung paggulong ng hustisya sa mga korte. Dahil importante, rule of law. Kahit na inip na tayo, bakit hindi pa nabibigyan ng hustisya yung ginawang pang-aapi sa atin ng mga Marcos? Ako'y, opposition ako nun, ako'y lumalaban sa mga Marcos. Kahit na Hindi pa nabibigyan ng hustisya yung takot-takot ng mga namatay nung panahon ni Marcos, pero hindi sila nainip. Hindi sila nag-shortcut. Dahil delikado yung shortcut. Kung hindi rule of law, tingnan mo, kay Presidente Duterte, ilang taon na nakakulong si Senator De Lima? Walang ebidensya. Bakit nakakulong? Kung dapat matagal nang malaya. Bakit? Inimpluwensyahan ng administrasyon ni Presidente Duterte yung mga korte. Yung ba ang gusto ba natin ganon? Yung administration, dahil galit siya dito, political enemy niya, gagamitin niya yung impluensya ng Malacanang at hindi niya papabayaan na gumulong yung hustisya. Yun ang,
So ano sinasabi niyo, sir? Na parang magiging ganon sila? Sila VP Lenny? Is that what you're saying? I don't... You're saying in effect na...
Hindi, ang sinasabi ko, Lucci, yung sinasabi ni ISKO, she is for rule of law. Kaya lang, ini-interpret nila na lenient siya sa mga Marcoses. Hindi. As President of the Philippines, you should not meddle with the courts.
Yeah,
Bakit nga hanggang ngayon? 30 years na, Robbie. Sabi mo nga, bakit hindi pa tapos? Bakit
Papa,
hindi pa napaparusahan?
I think we all share the same frustration, regardless of administration. But I think what people want him to explain
So,
specifically.
What do you mean? What do you mean? For President Lenny?
But Congressman, something simpler. I think just to revisit my question, one thing that people want ISKO Moreno to explain is, what do you mean na ang pinaglalaban dito na mga tinawag niyang yellow tards? And that's what the word he used. It's one thing for you to call yourself Dilawan. It's another thing for ISKO Moreno to call Lenny Robredo yellow tard. But in the meantime, the other thing that they want to explain is, what do you mean when ISKO Moreno says, actually, away lang ng dalawang pamilya to eh. When you diminish the whole, all the values that go into human rights, democracy, rule of law, and so on, and boil it down for the electorate na actually hindi, it's not about all of that. Away lang to ng dalawang pamilya eh.
Okay, I never heard Mayor ISKO Moreno said that. Pero
He said it,
ang
sir. He
narinig
said
ko
it.
sa kanya-
I'm stating it as a fact.
Sinabi niya.
Sinabi niya po yan.
Ako personally hindi ko narinig. Pero ang narinig ko sa kanya, sinasabi niya, bakit lagi ang narrative pagka-eleksyon, Dilaw, Pula, Aquino, Marcos, bakit hindi natin pag-usapan yung mga present issues ngayon? Which is more important, like pandemic, how do we recover? Si Mayor ISKO, binanatan niya rin naman si Presidente Duterte, pandemic, binanatan niya yung Parmali, binanatan niya yung face shield. Marami naman siyang binabanatan, pero ibig sabihin, yung issues na doon na lang ba nakasentro? Ito bang 2022 elections is again the Marcos dictatorship? Iyan ba ang issue? Samantalang ang issue ngayon yung gobyerno natin, yung Duterte government. Yun ang issue ngayon.
Congressman, yung palitan nyo ng mga maaanghang ng salita with the LP, unfortunately, parang hindi na yata, parang irreconcilable. Are you sure na...
Well, yun yung, alam mo, ako, bakit ako nagsalita? Nakita ko kasi yung mga Dilawans, binabanatan, yung mga kasama kong Dilawan, binabanatan si Mayor ISKO na hindi naman dapat. Sila yung nagsimula eh. Instead of concentrating doon sa eye on the ball, sino ba? Sino yung ball? BBM? Duterte. Pero ang binanatan nila, si Mayor ISKO. So ang mangyayari niyan, ba't ako nagsalita? Ngayon, nakita mo. Nag-confront. Sinong tumatawa sa atin ngayon? Sino makikinabang dito?
Pero
Hindi
Congressman, aren't
Mabuti
you
pa
conflating...
ngayon pa lang, ma-realize na nila. Mag-truce kayo. Huwag kayong magbanatan. Wala tayong mapapala dyan. Wala tayo... Kung tatakbo si VP Lenny, tatakbo si Mayor ISKO, okay, huwag kayong magbanatan. Ang banatan natin yung gobyerno ngayon. Hindi si Mayor ISKO. Tsaka concentrate ang Dilawan. Kay Mayor ISKO, gusto nila ibagsak si Mayor ISKO. Pero pag bumagsak si Mayor ISKO, yung numbers ni Mayor ISKO will not go to Lenny. It will go to Bongbong or Sara kung mag-replace si Sara by November 15. Kinitingnan ko, pinag-aaralan ko yung at ito ito yung mas mahirapan si VP Lenny kung wala si ISKO dahil yung voters ni ISKO hindi pupunta sa kanya. Hindi pupunta sa kanya. Kaya nga sabi ko, by November 15, ito na, last statement. By November 15, we will know whether Mayor Sara will join the race or not. Pero whether she joins the race or not, merong BBM, may BBM. Hindi natin alam ang mangyayari sa next survey. Baka dumating yung punto na ang panalo lang talaga kailangan magsama sila. So dapat ngayon, ma-realize ng mga holier than thou, huwag niyong banatan ito, huwag niyong ibagsak si ISKO. Ang bagsak niyo si BBM, yung administration, hindi si Mayor ISKO. Kaya si Mayor ISKO napikon. Ako, sa tingin ko, mali yung pagkapikon ni Mayor ISKO dahil I think yung projection niya, napikon siya.
Sir,
yung political projection niya.
Sir,
Pero sir,
ulitin
isn't
ko
it
lang
one
yung
thing?
tanong.
Isn't it one thing for sir? But isn't it one thing for supporters of Lenny to hit ISKO and another thing for ISKO to hit Lenny? I mean, they're not one and the same.
Pagka elections, natural lang 'yan. Na yung mga supporters, they will hit ISKO and siyempre meron din mga information si Mayor ISKO kung sino yung mga gumagalaw diyan sa likod na 'yan. Siguro siguro hindi nyo alam, pero we have information.
Okay. Congressman Erice, we will need to take a break, LCV. Konting antay lang.
Yeah.
Pagbalik natin, may kanina pang gustong itanong si LCV sa inyo. Kayo rin po, steady lang. We will need to take a break, but Congressman Edgar Erice will still be with us when we come back. Please stay with us.
Welcome back to Chiefs on One News. We continue our conversation with Congressman Edgar Erice of Aksyon Demokratiko. Pero ibabato ko na kay Lucy kasi si Lucy kanina pang ginaganahan.
Hindi, kanina kasi nung sinasabi nyo na parang binibira na si ISKO ng mga tinawag ninyong dilawan. So ibabalik ko lang yung tanong na tinanong na ni Ami. Parang ang dating ninyo sa amin ngayon ay parang wala ng pag-asa ang unification. Samantalang sa umpisa ng programa namin ngayon, sinabi nyo na tingin nyo may pag-asa pa. Pero it doesn't look like there's any hope for unifying because, at the rate you're passionately now showing dissatisfaction with your former colleagues in the party.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yun.
There will be there are scientific ways of knowing the situation. And if the situation requires unity, then the situation requires somebody to sacrifice, whether it's VP Lenny or
Yun.
Mayor Isko, to prevent,
You think-
talagang ganon. Nasa kanila na yan. Ako, wala naman akong ano rito eh. Wala naman akong ginagawa ko. Alam mo yung ibang mga politiko, tahimik. Ayaw nila, titignan nila kung sino yung malakas, kung sino, doon sila sasama. Di ba? Ako kauna-unahang membro ng Kongreso na Aksyon Demokratiko. Nag-iisa ako ngayon. Nag-iisa lang ako ngayon.
Okay. Ay,
Bakit?
Congressman,
Ito yung paninindigan ko.
okay.
Ito yung paniniwala ko. Ito yung paniniwala ko.
Sige.
Pero sir,
wala akong mapapala dito. I'm running for a local position.
yes sir. Yes sir, but sir, just to follow up on that,
It can damage it. Ang dami kong magiging share dyan, sa ano, it can damage me. But this is my belief.
yes sir.
Sa Kongreso, ako yung
Yes, sir.
nakapaglaban sa anti-political dynasty. Yung pag-political butterflies. Nilalabanan ko
if
yan.
it
Sir,
comes to
just to
that,
follow up on that,
okay,
are you
if
saying-
it comes to that, you're saying in effect that you believe that one of them will give way, no? I know that it's so early to ask this question, but where will your loyalty lie then? Knowing that, you spent all these years with LP and now you've moved to Aksyon Demokratiko, who will you want to give way? Di ba, mahirap din yun when that time comes.
Whoever will be the best candidate to beat Duterte or Marcos, the proper time, I will decide. Because that is my goal. And that is the goal of PPLN.
Yes, sir. Sir, what about the party?
Congressman.
What about the party? Kasi right now you're speaking for yourself, pero has the party talked about this? Na in the future, kung sakaling it boils down to ISKO or Lenny having to lead the race, would ISKO be willing to give in? I ask you that because, of course, you cannot speak for Lenny, but you might be able to speak for ISKO.
No, I cannot speak for ISKO or for Lenny. I'm doing this to help our country para ma-achieve yung goal na wag na sanang ulit itong administrasyon na ito at wag na sanang makabalik ang mga Marcos.
Congressman, sabi niya there's a scientific way of resolving this. You're thinking of surveys, right?
Yes.
Yan din ang takbo ng usapan ng the different camps of the camps na with candidates against the administration. Kung sino daw yung umakyat sa survey, they're expecting the others to back that person. So by
Hindi
what,
naman nangyayari.
kaya nga, at what point kaya magkakadesisyon niyang ganyan? Kasi magkakaroon niya ng survey
Kasi,
by the fourth quarter.
Maraming game changer. For example, by November 15, mag-substitute si
Sara.
Mayor Sara. So may game changer na yan. By the next survey, biglang umangat si BBM. Game changer na yan. So, yan yung mga necessity na kailangan mag-usap na. Na dapat i-sakripisyo niyo yung mga sarili-sarili.
Eh,
Yung para sa bayan,
Congressman, yung pagsasakripisyo, kayo po ba mismo, kayong mga nakapaligid sa iba-ibang kandidato, kakayanin nyo? I'll go back to Ami's question kanina. Yung banat sa inyo ni Teddy Bagila, talagang sakit na sakit siya. Ang sakit din ng banat sa inyo. Sabi niya, you sold your souls for 20 pieces of silver. But to be fair to Teddy Bagilat, kanina ang binalita ko sa Big Story, his message on Twitter was, oy, kalma lang tayong lahat, huwag tayong magbanatan. Is this going on both camps? You think is both camps telling its soldiers na, teka muna, palambigin natin yung ulo on both sides? Is that, when you say that hindi nyo alam lahat na nangyayari, is that part of it?
Alam mo, sinagot ko naman si Teddy. Ewan ko nabasa mo yung sagot ko sa kanya. Sabi ko,
Ano yun?
nabasa niyo naman
Sa inyo yun, So you're confirming.
Sinagot ko naman siya. Sinagot ko naman siya. Yun ang problema. Dahil hindi niya ako kilala. At parang yun ang problema namin. Holier than thou. Pagkaiba na yung idea. Parang masama na. O nabayaran na. Hindi niya ako kilala. Alam, dito sa Liberal Party, Ocho Derecho, yung mga rallies, kami lang ni Kit, ilan lang kami mga Congress kulong sa Liberal Party. Ilan lang kami. Hindi gumagasta sa amin ng partido. Kami ang tumutulong sa partido.
But I guess, Congressman, the question is, okay, it's early in the game. The good news is this is only, wala pang isang linggo. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, but wala pang isang linggo. Pero but is it
Mabuti na ngayon yan,
is it
para
still
ma-realize.
early enough? Is it still early enough to pull from the brink and let cooler heads prevail, and then get back to essentially what we thought we would start off from?
Kasi ang alam mo yung mga supporters kasi usually ang iniisip nila sasabihin ko rin ito yung napapansin ko kasi yung mga supporters lalo na yung mga kasama namin parang nahirapi sila nang nandun kami sa power. So they're dreaming of holding again positions in government. Kahit na at hindi na iniisip kung ano yung mga pwede mangyari.
Congressman, itong palitan niyo na maaanghang na salita, doesn't it go against the message of a healing presidency? Yan yung slogan ng kampanya ninyo.
Yeah, that's the message of Mayor ISKO. Ako naman ang sinasabi ko, di bali na tayong magkasakitan ngayon, baka mauntog tayo pare-pareho at bandang huli, isip natin na hindi tayo dapat mag-aaway-away. Kasi ang ginagawa strategy of the Dilawans is to hit ISKO. Pagbagsak ng ISKO, then they go to Bongbong. Yun yung kanilang strategy.
Pero sa tingin niyo, pwede pa rin mag-heal. At this
Pwede.
point.
Sabi ko nga, necessity. When the survey comes out, when Sarah moves in the race, nako, palagay ko, kailangan. Alam ko yung numbers.
Yeah, but Congressman,
And what about the your being sister parties? Wala na ba yan ngayon, right now, as we speak?
Depende nga sa
you
mga,
consider that?
depende na yan. Depende na sa mga leaders ng partido. At least in-open ko to kasi ay sa magbanatan, sila ng magbanatan, open na to. Tingnan natin kung sino magsasakripisyo sa kanila, sino unang makipag-usap sa kanila. Tingnan natin. For the country.
But Congressman, balikan ko lang po yung tanong ni Ami, because I think it deals with candidate Isko Moreno. No? And from the very start, he said, I want my message to be one of healing, of unity, and ayun nga, hindi tumagal ng isang linggo, as you said yourself, and I think as everybody saw, napikon ka agad. What does candidate Isko need to do?
Well, siguro, sabi ko nga, hindi pa naman siya masyadong sanay sa national politics, sa mga projections. He's been a candidate for local positions at nakita mo naman, alaban niya, Mayor Lim, ERAP. Pero one thing na bakit ako kay Mayor ISKO, kasi nakita ko naman talaga na it's harder to manage the city, or it's harder to be mayor of Manila than a vice president of the Philippines.
Vice President.
Okay. So it appears also from what you've said, no, that
In terms of performance,
yes,
kaya nga
okay.
tumama ako sa kanya. Kaya nga I chose him.
But how compatible are you with him on major policy directions, for example? I mean,
EJK, sinabi niya, ayaw niya. Tinanong ko siya.
ano pa? West Philippine Sea, did you? I mean, magkakapareho ba kayo ng mga tinatahak na direksyon para sa gobyerno niyo?
Yung aking mga prinsipyo na pinaninindigan mula noon hanggang ngayon, siguro mga 95%. Lahat ng tinanong ko sa kanya, nag-jive naman kami. Political dynasty, yung West Philippine Sea, yung extrajudicial killing, human rights, rule of law.
But there was a time when he was closely also associated with this administration now. And so some people are actually saying that
Alam mo, halos naman kami, halos lahat naman even lahat naman halos kinakailangan when you're getting experiences. Kailangan mo namang if you're vice mayor, you have kandidato siya nilak muna, pero nanalo si Mayor Lim. So, kailangan niyang makipag-cooperate kay Mayor Lim. Kaya, through the ladder, kung in-appoint siya, may pagkakataon siya maglingkod kay President Duterte sa peace talks with the Reds. So, nagkaroon siya binigyan siya ng USEC position. Ang importante, ano yung ginawa niya bilang mayor?
Congressman, maiba lang ako ng contest. Si Deputy Speaker...
Lahat tayo may mga lapses. Pero ang importante, ano yung ginagawa mo ngayon? Ano yung nakita ko naman wala namang problema si Mayor Isko. Wala namang problema in terms of managing a city like Manila, napakamahirap niya. Hirap na.
Congressman, maiba lang ako...
Maganda, excellent.
Maiba lang akong konti, Congressman. Si Deputy Speaker Rufus Rodriguez is pushing for a bill na babawal yung mga substitution of candidates. And he also wants officials to resign upon filing of certificates of candidacy. Ano po yung position nyo dun sa mga proposal na yun?
Tama po yun. Alam nyo, lahat naman yan nag-uugat dun sa yung kasakiman sa kapangyarihan. Kaya lahat ng mga palusot na yan because of political dynasties. Kasi gusto nila may upo yung anak nila, yung gagawa sila lahat ng paraan, lahat ng mga palusot.
Well, sir, may
Kaya
ba...
ako, I walk my talk. I've been serving my city for 46 years. I've been serving the government. 15 years old pa lang ako, ngayon 61 na ako. Wala akong kapamilya, wala akong anak, kamag-anak na politiko. I'm the first politician in my family. Na I will be the last.
Sir, may ba rin ako ng konti? May lumabas na report earlier na may mga miyembro ng LP belonging to the Balay faction that have changed sides and gone to the ISKO camp. Do you have any clarity there? You have anything to say about that? May kasama ba kayo? In other words, may bit-bit ba kayo mga tao?
Alam mo, kanina nag-uusap kami ni Luigi. Sabi ko, hindi pa nga ako nakakapunta sa campaign headquarters ni Mayor Isko. Nakarating lang ako sa kanya.
So wala ho kayong alam na lumipat from the Liberal Party?
Wala. May mga tumatawag sa akin na mga municipal mayor, sabi nila, LP sila, sabi nila sa akin, baka pwedeng itawid ko sila kay Mayor Isko para makakuha sila ng KONA, ng Aksyon Demokratiko. Ang ginagawa ko, tinetext ko lang sa headquarters ng Aksyon, tapos binibigyan sila ng KONA.
Is an alliance between the LP and Action out of the question at this point?
Pardon? I mean, medyo nawala.
At this point, pwede pa bang alliance between the Liberals and Action Democratico?
And Action?
And Action.
Liberal and?
Action, alliance. Is it possible pa at this point? Out of the question.
Dapat mag-usap. Hindi. I don't think so. Sabi ko nga, kung may necessity, dapat mag-usap. Dapat maliwanag lang yung parameters. Walang taguan ng agenda.
Pwede mag-forgive and forget yung palitan ng yung maaanghang na salita. Pwede.
Ganyan naman ang mga politiko eh. Palitan ng masasakit, tapos bandang uli, ano ba yung interest? Ano ba yung prevailing interest na kailangan ipagtanggol? Para sa akin, ang dapat na mamayani, hindi mga individual namin interest, ang mamayani, yung common goal namin. Ano yung common goal namin? Huwag makabalik si Marcos at matapos na yung ganitong uri na pamamahala ng Duterte administration.
Tapa. Sir, I mean,
So, at
doon
the
sa
rates-
pagbabalik, yung potential na pagbabalik ng Marcos, I did want to revisit that. As you said kanina, hindi nyo narinig eksakto yung words ni Isko Moreno. Pero sa pagkakaintindi nyo po, I mean, how exactly does he feel about the Marcoses, about continuing the cases to get back the ill-gotten wealth, about holding the family accountable for the cases on human rights, demanding an apology and some statement of remorse. How far is Isko Moreno going to go, if he even is in fact headed in that direction?
Robbie, how will a president, paano ang gagawin ng presidente para ituloy yung di ba hindi naman ang presidente ang even yung PCGG nga na-abolish na eh. So, di ba yung mga courts na ang dapat? So, ang trabaho ng magkaroon ng check and balance sa judiciary para yung mga corrupt justices, corrupt judges na nagpapatagal, mga kaso na ito, na tumatanggap para makalusot itong mga ito dapat pang asikaso. Hindi yung, not necessarily the Marcoses, but all of those who are doing all these things.
Yeah, Congressman, I see your point about the courts, and Mayor Isko did say that. But let's take your example, PCGG.
Yeah.
Kung walang PCGG ngayon, dapat ba ibalik ang PCGG? What is Isko's position on that? That's not about the courts. That's about political will to continue the work to unearth.
I think I'm not the political advisor of Mayor Isko. I think you should ask Mayor Isko tungkol sa mga bagay na yan. Kasi ako naman, ang purpose ko lang, sinabi ko sa inyo, ang purpose ko lang, magkaroon ng mas malawak na perspective, bakit nagkakaganito, bakit nagkakaroon ng matinding away, yung faction ng LP at ni Mayor Isko. Hindi ko sinasabing may mali, hindi ko sinasabing ang may mali lang ay yung Dilawan, hindi ko na sinasabing ang may mali lang si Mayor Isko. Pero kung ilalabas natin ito, pag-usapan natin ito, baka sakasakali. Kaya lang talaga, yung nakita ko, ang isang nakabigat dito, yung sinabi ni VP Lenny na hindi siya tatakbo. Pati nga ako, nagkaroon ako ng problema doon.
Pero sir, my recollection of her statements was that preferred niya to run for local position, pero she had never closed the door to running for national office. I do remember that kept coming up every now and then.
Ed, sa media, pero kami, magkakausap kami. Sabi niya, ayaw niya. Kinakalma niya lang yung mga purist, yung mga talaga nagdidikdik sa kanya, ayaw niya lang magalit sa kanya.
Mm-hmm. And sir, I think we all agree. I think we all agree that we don't want the executive to interfere with.
This was intimated to us, hindi to me, to us. Secretary Marrojas, Junabaya, It Del Monte, Butchabad, ako, and I think there's some more.
Wait. So you mean to say Marrojas was active in the discussions?
No, just once. Because nalilito na kami. 2 years na kami nag-uusap, sino ba kandidato natin?
Oh, so that's not recent, ha?
So may
wala
nag-initiate,
siyang...
sige, kausapin na may nag-initiate na, kausapin na. Sabi niya,
Okay.
ayaw niya.
All right. Well, okay. You say that necessity is the mother of invention. Okay? So, in effect, ang sinasabi mo is you will find a way scientifically to unite. You believe that will happen. My question to you is, if we were to take let's just say the 7 most likely to be the final presidential candidates as we see them now, okay? Do you think that it will come to a point where that necessity will happen and that one will have to give way to the other? You believe that? In other words, if elections were to be held today, that Bongbong Marcos will probably prevail. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think so. Sabi ko nga, depende yan sa mga susunod na pangyayari. Yung November 15, it's a big possibility. I still believe that it's a big possibility. So, tingnan natin yun. Pakikita natin yung result ng surveys. Kung bigla namang maganda yung numbers ni Ma'am Lenny na kaya niya, kahit na siya mag-isa, there's no need to talk. Diba? Kung tumaas na naman yung number ni Mary Scott na kaya need to talk. But kung nakita nila na mananalo yung common goal sabi ni VP Lenny Marcos and the Dutertes, then there is a need to talk.
Congressman Rice, we only have time for one more question. But we've been talking about the presidential candidates for the entirety of the show. I do want to ask about the Senate slates also. Because one thing that I've noticed, parang nobody came up with a full slate. Everybody's just had about, I've named 6 or 7 people here and there. Karamihan parang nakikita ko, puro guest candidates. Yung partial slate nyo, partial slate ng LP or kung sino man, is this a point of negotiation and conversation also, or maybe a point where the different parties can come together?
Alam mo, Robbie, di ba sinabi ko sa inyo, lahat yata ng politiko, naghihintay na lang kung sino yung malakas, dun sila sasama after a while, or after a certain point. And I think, Senator, gano'n na rin ang nangyayari. Kaya nga, sabi ko nga, I'm doing a disservice to myself. Kasi tumataya kagad ako ngayon.
Okay.
Congressman, pahabol lang na question. Yung sinasabi niyong meeting, yung Liberal Party meeting where VP Lenny told you she's not running, kailan to nangyari? Sa kasaang lugar?
About 3 months ago.
Sa
Office of the Vice President.
Office
3
niya?
or 4 months ago. I am not very good. Sa office niya.
Okay.
Okay. Congressman Edgar Irice of Aksyon Demokratiko. Congressman, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman.
Keep safe, sir.
Congressman.
Salamat, Robbie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Diba? Okay. We were supposed to have Surigao del Sur Congressman Prospero Pichay for the second half of the show tonight. Unfortunately, while he was already on standby before his segment, he was called to an emergency. That will be all, therefore, for this edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Edwin Gao, and we are One News.